Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon to you, and welcome to ABP Education. And today is my name is Prabjeet Singh, and today is the next webinar in the Campus to Career series. And before talking about the webinar today, I'd like to tell you about abpeducation.com. abpeducation.com is basically a portal that deals in news about everything that is happening in the higher education circuit: exams, results, students, educators, and everything that you need to know in the world of higher education is covered by us. And we are powered by the Telegraph Online and Anandabazar Patrika. Now, talking about the Campus to Career series, this series started on August 12th with the Bengal Education Leaders Summit, with State Education Minister Mr. Partho Chatterjee attending it. And now would like to tell you about today's topic, which is opportunities in design and animation, UI, UX, AR, VR, and VFX. And with this, I'd like to introduce to you all our elite panel. The first on our panel is Ashok Vishwanathan, producer and director, SRFTI. Mr. Vishwanathan is a three-time national award-winning filmmaker and an international award winner. He has been the chairman of the National Film Awards jury twice. Next panel is Mr. Pradeep Chopra, chairman, IT. Mr. Chopra is from Xavier's College and J.D. Birla Institute. He has written several books on real estate, personality development, and relationships. Next on the panel is Mr. Florian W. Karls, co-founder of Holodeck VR. Mr. Florian co-founded Holodeck VR, offering a patented VR tracking system and physical freedom in virtual environments for large groups of people. Next on the panel is Professor Samir Mukherjee, Head of Department of Emerging Technology, VR, AR, MR, XR, Makaut. Professor Mukherjee has 30 years of experience in technology and communication, having helped create studios and media facilities. Mr. Mukherjee has been researching on the possibilities of combining digital media and education with emerging technologies. Next on the panel is Mr. Dhruva Banerjee, filmmaker and ex-creative director, Reliance Animation. Mr. Banerjee has been the creative director of Reliance Animation for over 6 years, creating and collaborating on various award-winning projects for national and international markets. Next on the panel, Mr. Professor Dr. Malay Dave, Director, JIS College of Engineering. Dr. Dave has years of corporate and academic experience in both India and abroad. He has set up 2 engineering colleges in Western India, where he was the founder director. Next, introducing our moderator for the session, Mr. Ashish SK, Chairman, Animation Cell, FICCI. Mr. Ashish has created the finest original Indian animated content and has successfully completed and marketed several animation films for studios in Hollywood. He was recently awarded the Creative Entrepreneur of the Year for 2015 by the Entrepreneur magazine. Now, with this, I'd like to hand over the session to Mr.
Thanks so much, Prabjeet Sethi. Nice meeting you for the second time now, but it's been my pleasure actually coming on these panels and talking to a large number of audience there. Today's session, we have a very interesting lineup, and this lineup is going to be talking about the new age careers and the opportunities, and it will make things much easier for everyone to really see how they can make a career into this space of animation design and visual effects. The very fact comics industry in the country, it's probably the only vertical all industries where we have a consistent growth of more than 30% year on year, and that's the power of storytelling that we actually have from this country. At the same time, uh, you know, uh, better recognition, because at one point in time, for a number of years, we only had one film school in Pune and one in Kolkata. We had only one design school in Ahmedabad. Even though we had very small intake of students, but industry has grown multifold. Today we have as many as 20 lakh people directly or indirectly employed with the complete media, entertainment, and the events industry. And having said this, large number of people found their way in making a career by learning on job. And we were always searching as to how we can provide a level playing field for the creative arts, performing arts, design, events, and probably sports at par with science and commerce. Uh, and here comes the National Education Policy 2020, which allows you within the framework to get started in the school curriculum, as well as having a multidisciplinary curriculums in the university, and having some of these verticals uh, uh, integrated with the business, integrated with engineering, integrated with technology courses, and also mostly keeping all the all the creative courses and the new creative courses that can be introduced into the universities. So overall, it kind of leaves us with a great uh, insights for students who are going to actually come into the schools and the universities from here on, would definitely see a much better career option in the creative arts and performing arts and design. And that's where we are going to open out as to how these opportunities are going to unfold, and how people can actually align their liking and select it as a mainstream subject while they are getting educated, and don't have to do things as an extracurricular activity, and then start integrating those activities to make it a mainstream career. And while we actually do this, we have a very interesting panel, people who have actually been in education and people who have actually been into the making of films, and introducing many of these newer ideas of making career every single time that we hired somebody, and we started certain kind of courses within India, and also getting people from overseas to work with us. And today, uh, you'll be very happy to know that whether it's a 2D to 3D conversion, that I mean the stereoscope conversion. India does as much as more than 70% of the work from all over the world. There's not a single film today created uh, within Hollywood, or maybe even Europe and Japan, that doesn't have Indian hand doing visual effects in the movies. At the same time, while we are servicing the best of the animation projects all over the world, the Indian content alone has been actually contributing majorly to these careers. At the same time, today in the digital content economy that is getting created, the digital content ecosystem is something that is growing at a pace of almost 23% year on year. And in the COVID times, it has actually grown more than 600 to 700% uh, of the previous year of 2019. That is predominantly because people were at home and were consuming more and more content, and that makes it so lucrative for us that if we don't present ourselves with this content in the on the given platforms, then we will be only the losers. And having said that, even the government of India recognizes this big time, and they have put our sector into the champion sector. And that's when a large amount of emphasis is being put up to make this into a very strong career option, and also look at positioning India as a big services hub and the original content hub as well. And for doing that, we are creating the national education, along with the national education policy, we are also creating the national animation, gaming, visual effects, comics, and XR policy. And I think that policy that we are presently putting together actually would put India into a very strong pedestal. And I think the digital content economy contribution from India would be at a peak as we put this policy in place, and also the implementation of the national education policy. And I think that's one of the reasons it's very important for every student to understand what these and how they can actually align their thinking and align their interest to make the right career choices. And one has to align, after 12th, that's for sure. But what preparation you can do much before that, and that's where you will be able to see that the whole framework of liberal arts, the whole framework of multidisciplinary education system would allow you to not only start knowing the subject, but as you grow further, you will start engaging yourself with the thought of specializing where it's going to be impacted by animation, visual effects, the design, and many other aspects. Of course, design deals with industrial design, with textile design, with product design, with automobile design, with policy design, and many things. But we will, touch those subjects a little bit, but majorly concentrate on the creative side of it, and the artistic side of it, and the performing arts side of it. So the format that I would like to follow is that we will go with each speaker. We have Professor Dave with us. We have the filmmaker Dhruva Banerjee with us. We have Professor Ashok Vishwanathan with us. We have Mr. Pradeep Chopra ji. We have Mr. Florian and Mr. Samir Mukherjee. So what I would do is that I'll take Samir at the last, because he has some presentation on, the AR VR, as an opportunity. But we will start with Dhruva Banerjee, and I would request each speaker to actually have about 2 to 3 minutes opening comment on the topic, and not take too long, because we need to cover a lot. Prefer that we have a lot of question answers, so that audience are benefited and they are actually being able to make the most use of this whole discussion. So after Mr. Dhruvo, we will go to Mr. Ashok Vishwanathan, and then we'll go to Pradeep ji and Mr. Dave ji, and come to Florian, and then to Samir ji. So over to you, Dhruvo. If you can, unmute yourself and do your opening remark for 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, panel. It's wonderful to be with all of you, and welcome all the viewers. It's truly a very honest panel that we are all a part of. But before I get into the future of the specifics that we're talking about, let me first say that nothing is disjointed in this world, so nothing happens randomly, right? So to discuss what we are looking as the future of today, let's discuss how the future may look like 15 years down the line. Say, let's just imagine how we are going to live. What kind of a world we are going to all live in. I imagine getting up from the bed, and maybe there will be something like a Siri or a Echo Dot kind of thing, much advanced version of that AI we are talking about, which will by then be possibly the greatest norm of all our living. I will possibly then tell me, you know what, today morning I just feel like going to the hills. I wish I could see a sunrise. Can it create that for me? Maybe a sunrise in the Himalayas, and in front of me there will be possibly a digital projected sunrise happening just right then and there. And I'll say, okay, I need to hear a great music to go with that when I sip my coffee. And it will get played. Just a glimpse of the world. In other words, what we're talking about is the world is actually come to our home. These 5 months of COVID have just preponed what eventually would have anyway happened. The world is getting smaller. It is coming to our home, and it is, and experience is getting behavioral. Experience is getting far more human. Experience is getting far more immersive. Experience is getting far more human-oriented. And that is the world we're going to live in. We are talking about the world getting mapped, fragment by fragment, faculty by faculty, which means data science will possibly meet design. And when that conjunction happens of data science and designing coming together, we are looking at a mapped world in our palm. How will that happen? That will need AR, VR, AI at the base center of it. It will need a complete new concept of designing, and animation will naturally be an integral part of it. So my suggestion to every aspiring student who want to look into this as a profession, do not just look at it as making one film, making to be about that. Enter the field with such a broad mindset, knowing that you will hold the power to change how the world is going to look like 10 to 15 years down the line, if you today imbibe the right education and the right way of looking at education. So I would say today, students who are really looking at it, it is just at the brink of a change. 92 had changed the world for us who lived in India, had opened a completely new world. 2000, 2021, 2022, I think it's just going to open up a complete new gateway to a world we're going to look into the next 15 years' time. And what is ideally going to drive it, I personally would love to see, is AR, VR, OTT. These are the three segments that is going to really rule the segment. It will be very closely followed by internet advertising, gaming, and cinema. So this entire gamut is going to invite students who will take it to the tomorrow and bring it to the new world that we live in. Design is going to be a part of every being that we see today, be it astronomy, be it your medical science, be it architecture, be it engineering, be it anything in the world that is going to be designed. So much so, I would like to say that there will come a time when actually a company will be evaluated by its strength of designing capability. And that is the world we are looking at. The students who really want to step into this world of content creation, animation, and designing, see the larger picture and prepare yourself mentally for that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dhruva. It was really a great insight, and I'm going to come back to you with a lot of questions on the design aspect, especially the film design and the production design areas, and of course your experience into animation. So we're going to discuss a lot about the pre-visualization and the pre-production design itself.
Sure.
Yes. So if you can put yourself on mute for a while, and I get Professor Ashok Vishwanathanji to make his opening remarks, because he comes from SRFTI and they've been long-standing into the field of films. Ashokji, please come in.
Thank you for inviting me to this panel. I'd like to begin by saying that I'm basically a filmmaker, even more than a professor or a teacher. So from my experience of filmmaking and my take on filmmaking, I'd say that the watchword has always been and will always be creativity. And when you spoke of stories and telling stories, it's always creativity which has to be the top line and the bottom line. Because unless you can give the audience something which keeps them thinking, keeps them ticking, keeps them guessing, you are really not going to be successful. However much of special effects you use, however much of mind-blowing animation you use. It has to be a story worth telling, an innovative story. Having said this, I'd like to say that the entire concept of animation has changed. You know, nowadays, animation is not what it used to be. As a child, we remember that animation were those small, often comical strips for children mostly, and the master of them was Walt Disney. And we did see some extremely exciting films, like Donald in Math Magic Land, for example. So that was the concept. But today, the line between live action and animation is becoming blurred. Animation is being used in extremely serious cinema too. If you look at Forrest Gump and you see the kind of visual transpositing that has been used here, and to a certain extent animation techniques, you will realize that animation can be extremely realistic, convincing, serious. There is no element of comedy. It doesn't have to cater only to children, and it can be completely fused with normal cinema. So in Titanic 2, filmmakers like James Cameron have continued from where they started and moved on in films like Avatar to use animation in an extremely creative way, in a wondrous way, in a serious way. And as I said, the blurring line is very important. We already had many eons back a film called Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was part animation and part live action, and they fused beautifully. And the experience of that film was born of a rich tradition of animation cinema that came to us from Zagreb, with films like The Hand, which were films that were overtly political in content. So animation cinema has been extremely political, radical, ideological. Once again, I say the content is the king. But obviously the modes have changed. And right now, in these so-called COVID times, people are experimenting with VR in a very creative way. So it's not that animation and VR are being used only when making superhero films. When you're making a very realistic film, you may be using the location as an indoor set, you know, or a sound stage, and the entire set could be created through VR. And so, because it is now much more difficult to shoot outside in certain specific locations, many filmmakers are toying with the idea of using VR sets. So animation has permeated or trickled into almost every discipline. While we even make short films on the COVID menace and how to tackle with it and what kind of behavioral pattern we should follow, we are using techniques related to animation or VFX or design elements. And this has now become not only a very serious business, a global business, and as my previous speaker said, this is the future. In other words, even if you are interested primarily in filmmaking, if you are a realistic filmmaker, if you want your film to reach festivals like Cannes and Berlin and London and Locarno and Carlo Vivari, animation is something that you must acknowledge, that you cannot ignore, and that can actually lead you to making great cinema. Who can forget Wes Anderson's recent film, which won the prize at the Berlin Film Festival, about dogs? Perfectly wonderful, which is not to say that humor has disappeared from animation. Animation still can be extremely pointed, humorous, witty. I'd like to end my exhortation by giving you an example of how witty it could be. Consider, for example, the first president of the United States, George Washington. He was, on his birthday, presented with an axe by his father. And young George made appropriate use of that axe by cutting off his father's favorite cherry tree. Naturally, his father was not pleased by this act, and he demanded to know in no uncertain terms who had done the deed. Now, as you know, George Washington, like Raja Harishchandra and Mahatma Gandhi, never spoke a lie. So he said, "Father, I have chopped down your favorite cherry tree. Please forgive me." And his father forgave him. Now, the story doesn't end there. It seems there was a modern George Washington close to where we live, who was also presented with an axe by his father, and who also made appropriate use of that axe by chopping down his father's not cherry tree, but mango tree. When his father instantly appeared on the scene, he was extremely angry, and he wanted to know in no uncertain terms who had done the dastardly deed. And our young George, who had heard the earlier story, said, "Father, I have chopped down your favorite mango tree. Please forgive me." But contrary to what happened in the case of George Washington, the modern-day father started beating up the modern-day son. Amidst the howls of pain, the little boy managed to blurt out, "But father, when George Washington chopped down his father's favorite cherry tree, his father, forgave him when he admitted his guilt. But now you are beating me." And the modern-day father said, in the case of George Washington, when he chopped down his father's favorite cherry tree, his father was not on the cherry tree, but I was. Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing connotation, sir. In fact, it's so true that story is everything. Technology is an enabler. And, in many places, we wonder why people put technology first. It's an enabler. And I think a lot of skills that we're going to talk about is going to have a foundation in the creativity and the performing arts and design side. So taking this forward, I would come to Mr. Pradeep Chopra. I had a golden opportunity to visit his institution, a lovely place there and a very vibrant place right in the center of Calcutta. Pradeep ji, please make your opening remarks and then we will go forward.
To start with, I would thank ABP, the moderator and the other panelists. See, let me start with design. I come from real estate industry, and today it is possible to do a reverse engineering. What we are able to do in our second and third campus is that 90% of the material used is picked up from the waste, and we got a highest rating as a green building. Now, this has not only saved the environment, but also reduced our cost and made the time for completion of the project much shorter. I think more of such things you will see with the evolving of smart design softwares and smart designing ideas, where there will be some kind of an artificial intelligence at the background, and they will, suggest you where you can use your waste or trash into actual construction. And you can actually go and experience the building before it is actually made with AR, VR, and you can see whether you are liking or it is comfortable or it is as convenient as you wish it to be. And only then you can start a construction. Now, the same thing you can do with your heritage properties before you can do any modifications to make them user-friendly. You can actually see it, how the building after completion will be, whether it will attract the right kind of tourists or whether it's going to be comfortable, convenient, and all that stuff. We have in India more than a few 100,000 heritage properties, particularly in Rajasthan and many other parts, and they need to be reused for promotion of heritage tourism. Now, we are blessed with so many of heritage properties like forts and palaces and bowdies and many other. We have we have a problem of plenty. And all these places, you can use VR, to recreate the entire scene. Just imagine that instead of doing a normal sound and light show in Amer Palace or in Chittor, you can actually recreate the whole scenario, where you can actually see that, the Alauddin Khilji's, the entire army is coming, and, the King Ratan Singh is coming out, he's getting captured, and he's taken out. And you can actually see it in 3D, real experience, what kind of impression and what kind of tourists you can attract. So this is, I can see a great future in promoting our tourist sites. And just imagine with AR, VR, the sites which are very difficult to, approach, deep caves, or if you are, want to go to Kailash Mansarovar, a person like me who's 67, 68 and heart patient. Now it's not physically possible, but then you can actually make them have the same experience through AR, VR. AR, VR is capable of also offering you simulators at a fraction of the cost. Today you can have a AR, VR simulators of flight, or docking a huge oil tanker inside a port. They will become, not only entertainment devices, but also learning devices. You can do amazing things at a very, very low cost with AR, VR gadgets. The boundary between education, skill development, and entertainment will vanish. What you think is an entertainment thing will also be used for education, and very high quality education. This is going to happen. Now, most of the history lessons will be taught by showing them history film. Now we are, in fact, planning to make a web series on East India Company. Now, just imagine East India Company, what a management lessons they give. A company from a small island, ruled almost 80% of the world. Their rule extended from America to Australia and all the countries in between. And how did they manage when there was no telegraph, and before telegraph they were here, and how they continued, and what a great story it is. Now, if I can make a web series on this, or web series on Saladin, or web series, the whole history can be taught in web series. The whole geography can be taught with films, documentary films. Science, physics, chemistry, mathematics can also be taught with animation films. And there is an immense possibility. And fortunately, India is the lowest cost producer of this animation, and particularly West Bengal. We have, I say that in every Bengali, there is a DNA of creativity. They excel in compared to any other race. Today, if you go to Bombay or you go anywhere, the people from Bengal are leading, all industry. In fact, the entire film industry started from here. At the initial stage, all the leaders of the film industry, Filmale, or all the leaders were from Bengal. So the children from here, they're excellent. And fortunately, with this whole concept of working from home, now a child sitting in Calcutta or in Bardhaman or in Nadia can service a client sitting anywhere in the world on animation or VR or whatever he can. He can actually do and earn foreign exchange and foreign earning, having a lifestyle of a small village. So this he can have the best of two worlds. So this is an amazing times, an amazing possibility in this area. And I think students, particularly the girls, who has to stay at home when they are giving a birth to a child, and that there's a challenge, they can't come to the office, but they can do animation or this kind of work from home. So, this is opening up immense possibility, not only for the creation of animation, but its application, in various fields, in skill development, in training, in edutainments. I think I won't say sky is the limit. I said sky is not the limit. We will go beyond the sky. That is how the whole industry is today.
Thank you very much, Pradeep ji. In fact, very insightful. In fact, you touched upon the sustainable design as a subject while you are doing your construction business and the green buildings. And I think that's a very big subject that our country needs to learn, and many countries needs to learn, because sustainability and the sustainable design is only going to put this country back on track, because the pressure on the environment is so immense that we need to have these course corrections done. But very rightly touched upon a lot of other animation aspects and few other areas. But as you are running some very interesting programs, I'm going to come back to you with those questions as well. Now we will go to Professor Dave, and very beautiful and well-designed background that I can see Dave sir in.
That is our studios.
Oh, wow.
That is our digital studios, actually.
That's amazing. So we would like to know from you, what are your opening remarks on this topic, sir?
Sure. Animation to us, the other side of, we are sitting on the other side of the table, and it's more like, there's a definition about it, like breathing life into a character. That is what the animation is all about. Now, interestingly, breathing life into a character is more like a CPR, cardiovascular resuscitation, right? But that CPR has been given to us, the education industry. Believe me, the new normal is such that we have got a CPR. Why, I'll tell you. And where I'm standing, JS College of Engineering has been declared as India's first institute by World Bank, by UNESCO, by MHRD, and many, many more, and that has gone through total digital transformation. So we don't teach in the classroom. We have got 2 signs in the classroom: no teaching and no smoking. And the teaching is pushed out of the classroom, and more complex cognitive tasks like, understanding the concept, application of the concept that is being done here for past 4 years. So, we need this paraphernalia like this digital studio and preview theater and many more things. But what I wish to tell you is, the business is going to be now, from the education side of it, multi-million dollars. Because we are, for example, for past 4 years, we are creating digital contents. And we have got the content creators. We have got, the digital content designer and many more things. These are the I would say, these are the positions you never find in traditional teaching and learning institutions, right? We have done many, many more things. So just to be brief, I want to say that, development of digital content is going to be huge. Because as of now, yes, we did some crude things in this country. We did some, recording through mobile, and we use Zoom platform or any other platform, thinking that using Zoom platform is going digital. There's another misconception. So, is it digital, distance learning and digital learning is mixed here in this part of the world. But all that I want to say is, the business is going to be huge from education side of point of view. We need a lot of animators, we need a lot of storyboard designers. We need many, many more. Because if I'm talking about my institute, we have created that talent within us. But if you talk about the larger side, the bigger window that is in India, you can imagine, now that with the new normal is such that we have to go digital. There is not much of an option. And in this case, you need a hell of a lot of team of designers, 2D animators, 3D animators, and storyboard artists, and many, many, many more things. So all that I want to say is, that education industry has now opened up new doors, and there are new possibilities, and they're endless, believe me. On one side, you're talking about animations and movie making, that's fine. That is traditional. But now, this is something new opening. A country like India, you can imagine what sort of business it has opened. The new normal has, it's a huge, huge, huge business. And I wish to tell to my audience here, my young audience here, that, okay, fine, AR, VR and everything, those paraphernalia is there. But can you imagine when Disney, when 1942 in the small garage in Kansas City, he created Mickey Mouse? Or think of, Hanna-Barbera, Tom and Jerry. Or think of, Chuck Jones, my favorite character, Bugs Bunny, Watch Up Dog. You know, those guys, those animations, they were not done in the background of, you know, the AX, VX and all these things. And still, they are the top of the pops. They are as fresh as the morning dews. So what you're talking about is, yes, this is okay. This machinery is fine. There's AR, VR, AX, VX, whatever it is. VFX is good. But it's good for movie making. For example, Jurassic Park's island, the Iceland, Nebura, that was imaginary. That was fictitious island created with these wonderful effects, wonderful softwares. So there was a joke about the Jurassic Park that, I mean, apart from Steven Spielberg, are others are really live or they are also animated? The actors are animated along with the dinosaurs. So, I mean, that was the effect was so impeccable. I mean, I would say that the Jurassic Park is epitome of animation. So, I mean, we have softwares, but where we need to apply, I mean, we need our discretion. It is not one size fits all because we have got VFX, we have got AR, we have got VR, we do it everywhere. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. Otherwise, if that was the case, I mean, Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny, and Tom and Jerry would not have been the chart today. They still have that impact, they still have effect. So at the end of the day, what I want to say, what matters is the creativity. These are the software, they will support you. But you have to be passionate about something. You have to be creative. I mean, leaders are not made, you know, they are born. So the artists are born. So we have to tap those people, those students, you know, those who show, they exhibit this creativity. They show the passion for this adventure. And they can be taken up and they can be given a better slot. Otherwise, this nation has got over 300 studios and 15,000 animators. So what? At the end of the day, we are looking for creating the magic of Walt Disney. We want to create the magic of Chuck Jones. And we want to create the magic of Hanna-Barbera. Yeah. That's what we are here for. And from education industry point of view, I can assure that big business is coming up because we badly need, you know, people like animators. We badly need people who can create the digital content very effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. In fact, so much so, in fact, we are in love with most of the character brands that you mentioned. And the very reason that the animation storytelling is immortal because it's the only form of storytelling in the world which cuts across borders, cultures, languages, ages, and many more, because once you dub it in any other language, you just can't tell what it is. It is very neutrally created, and that's why these characters live for hundreds and hundreds of years. The oldest character that we have in the world is Winnie the Pooh, and the second oldest character we have is Mickey Mouse, and both of them are more than 100 years old today. And so is our cinema industry, 106 years old. So we will come back to some of these education areas and our responsibility to basically create professionals who can create the world-class quality of animation. Coming to, France, Mr. Florian, we would like to hear from you what does, it take to really have some of these careers. How do you think this is going to unfold? How does some of these partnerships also are going to work between India and France? We have a co-production treaty, by the way, with France. It's called an audiovisual co-production treaty. But what are the opportunities and why should one make a career into this space? Please, over to you.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here today, and thank you for inviting me. I think it's a great opportunity to be a student in animation and design and create new worlds nowadays. I think we have all the technology available at our fingertips, and like some of the panelists say, it's possible to work from anywhere in the world on these, even from home, on these new creative worlds. And we actually are currently in the process of mapping and expanding our world from our homes, and also being able to visit places that were impossible before. So we recently had a studio design a mission to Mars, where you can visit and step inside the world that you are created, that you have created, and visit Mars. You first start up in a space station, and then you fly with a spaceship to Mars, and you then go down to Mars to see what it's like to live there. And I think the technology is there, and we live in a spatial world. So I think 3D will be very important, and to animate the 3D worlds around you, because it's interactive. You will be able to interact in that 3D environment, whether it's virtual or in augmented reality, where we have layers upon layers and that we can blend into our natural environment as well. And I think it's a very exciting time to be an animation student and to create the future. There's two things that we really have learned from Holodeck. The world is social, so we like to interact with other people around us, and it would be great if we could already have, instead of a Zoom call, be meeting in a virtual environment where we could see and showcase some of the things that we've been working on in 3D. And that's what we're currently working on, to have everybody step inside a holodeck from home or their classrooms, or and be able to interact with the 3D environment. Yes, so I think it's a great way to work on the future. And we also found it's a spatial world. So rather than having a flat screen, we like to move around. And that's what we have had very interesting interactions as well with other people in the same room, where we found you get much closer to each other and you feel much closer, even though you're not in the same space.
Yeah, thank you very much, Flor. In fact, a good insight into what's going on in the VR side. But we have one presentation from Mr. Samir Mukherjee. In fact, that's going to open up a lot of ideas for the students as to where they can really make the right kind of choices for their careers. So over to you, Samir. In fact, if you can put up that presentation, and we can quickly go through that presentation. And I think
will not take much time. Respected industry guest and respected moderator, my dear students, and Anandabazar, ABP Education. Thank you so very much, and a very, very great afternoon. Students are always asking this, that exactly what is VR? This is one of the biggest question at this moment. Probably all the
Mr. Mukherjee, you're not audible. Can you be a little loud, please?
Yeah, can you bring the speaker closer to you?
Okay.
Yeah, now it's okay.
So they ask these things that basically what we'll do with the VR, okay? Probably you have heard before also that we have started a kind of a studio, VR studio in our college, in our university rather. Okay, that's one of the biggest studio at this moment for VR. If you want to do research, if you want to do some projects and all this. So I want to give them a little idea that exactly apart from filmmaking, VR filmmaking, what we can do with this. So, in this pandemic, with this coronavirus and all this, okay, we are using Zoom. We are not using VR. If we use this kind of technology, you can literally come together. You can touch it. You can feel it. So still, that Zoom is giving us a little bit of leverage, But if you take care of this new technology with this Florence HoloLens and other things, you can ask your friend, ask all these people to your drawing room. Now, another very interesting points. This is very common. I told Ashish ji that I will tell all the new project, but you know that we call VR AR technology is the next internet. Like before internet and after internet, there is a paradigm shift. So here also with VR, AR, and without VR, AR, there will be huge problem, huge big things. Okay, you cannot believe what we can do with this. So the learning part, you know, in the future will be VR, AR, 100%. The next thing, remote training. You know that the VR lab and other things will give you that lab part of it, and learning from the distance will be very, very easier. Another very interesting thing is that visualizing the complex problem. What is the complex problem? He is not a guy or he is not a driver who can change his flat tire. Actually, his computer is in his back. It's called backpack. Okay, and he is getting all the information, and he is take care of the entire thing in the high-speed car. That what he can do with that. Okay, which is very, very difficult. And if you seriously go deep into it, you will understand. So, you know, all the industry, this is automobile industry. Before that, I said that lab and so many things. Now the construction site and collaborations, Chopra sir told us that heritage properties and all this, you know, this doll's house concept is a very, very new concept at this moment. You know, like any building, you can do a kind of a doll's house, okay, and can check it up exactly. In the film, at the time of the shooting, it is very, very essential. Once we introduce this doll's house concept, the shooting scenario will be changed. Now, this is the crucial part. I am coming a little bit gradually. This is psychology part of it. The social VR. Social VR is a huge impact in the industry, and the enormous part of the psychology is involved in this. Virtual exhibition and the entertainment. Virtual exhibition is one of the very, very, like we are doing every day virtual meeting. This is a kind of a virtual meeting, and we can do a kind of a virtual conference. Just few weeks back, I did a kind of AR/VR conference in Paris. It is amazing. It is just amazing experience. I just can't believe it. That so seamless that you can feel that you are in that particular venue. Virtual fashion show. That is also last probably 1.5 weeks back in Paris. And luckily I got that opportunity to watch. It is again an amazing part of it, you know. So all these things, why I am discussing this? Because of it is not only filmmaking, it is a different gamut of education, gamut of production. Okay, so everywhere you will see the touch of VR, AR, and all this probably 2-3 years down the line. Gamifying the fitness, you know, like that gentleman can see the road with his glass and can watch after that what it will be and all this, and if it is it may be a very unknown road, and he can explore it. Mission training is also very, very crucial. So many mission trainings are there in the defense, in the different part of the work and all this. Like it is not possible to repeat it. So your mission training will be, you know, evolved so deeply that if you succeed on that mission training, probably will be succeed in this original training, original mission. Okay, so this is another very, very interesting things. Like, defense people are already using this, and people are gradually taking these things, which is like Mission Mars, what Florence said, that it is a kind of a mission training. That can we do that? Kind of. Marketing experience will be absolutely a metamorphosis kind of. In the future, marketing will be very easy in your home. You can check the entire showroom and can select and can go there, can take the price, can order. Literally, you can visit that shop. We got some concepts, but I do not have time to explain all these things. Basically, education will be a kind of a AR/VR platform in the future. One of the very, very interesting area will be part of the education, not all the education, but part of the education will be in the AR/VR platform. Application in the healthcare, that is also, everybody knows these things, but what kind of applications? People do not have that kind of ideas, but there is a huge number of applications there. I'm just giving you certain very interesting concepts, which is not directly related to AR/VR, but see the application part. Virtual reality is used in autism. Why autism? Because of autism, who are suffering from autism, they need certain environment. We can make that environment, and he can go, she can go with his parents to anywhere. Okay. Now, virtual reality is good use case, pain relief during the childbirth. Can we believe this? We can't. It is just not possible. But you know that for a mother, when the child is in the womb, the only thing in the world is the child. So what we are doing, the child is a little bit bigger, and she can watch that, yes, that's my child, and she will forget everything. There will be no pain. It is a proven thing. Can you believe all these applications? There is actually I got hundreds and hundred different applications, but unfortunately we do not have that kind of time, and this is not that kind of a forum. Another very interesting thing is virtual reality is impacting racial biasness. Can you believe? It is a huge amount of AI, huge amount of data science, include in this VR, AR and all this. Okay, it's basically not VR, AR, it's XR, and you will get that impulses that that racial biasness is there. Thank you so very much. I think I kept my promise that I will not take much time.
No, that was amazing. I think the visuals in the storytelling always add to the story, and I think it enhances the story in many ways. As we have gone through the initial thoughts of every speaker for the first round. What I would like to do is that, although we have 27 questions which have poured in already, but I would like to have very dedicated questions for people with specialities in different subjects. So I'll first go to Dhruva Banerjee. Dhruva, having actually worked for several years into animation as well as into the live action and advertising, I would like you to tell our audience today what does it take to do the pre-visualization and the pre-production skills that are required for creating a story, and how do you select the technology once you have created the story or select a platform? Please, if you can come in, Dhruva. Dhruva, are you there? Yeah.
Hi. Surya, I think I've been really privileged that thanks to you as well, so that we got a wonderful time together for a very long time. I've been really privileged that I could work for almost last 22 years in the field of advertising, animation films, visual effects, as well as live action. See, I think what animation has taught me is that pre-visualization is the soul of production. And that's a great learning, because in animation, the whole process goes upside down as we see it in live action. So in animation, it starts, of course, the script is the base. There's a great saying that there are only 3 ways of making a great film: a great script, and a great script, and everything else follows. So yes, that remains constant regardless of what form of filmmaking we are doing. In animation, we start with voiceover recording, which is the last part in live action. After voiceover recording, we do pre-visualization in terms of storyboarding, which is character designing, background designing, and storyboarding. That then gets turned into an animatic, which is edited frame by frame. There is a scratch music that gets added on top of it. What you have is the entire film running on real time as an animatic. Entire corrections are done on that. That gets locked. Then the actual process of animation starts, which is merely converting the entire animatic into the real film as we're going to see on screen. Now in live action, it's exactly the opposite. In live action, we have a script, then we do the pre-production, as in the basic production planning. We shoot, edit, music, and finally the voiceover recording. But I think what we can, like I have, what we can learn out of this is the importance of pre-visualization. Let's understand one thing, that in a world where things are becoming much tighter, it's shrinking in terms of production nuances, the pre-production remains the key. The better we planned are, the more we will get output in terms of I'm looking at live action. So if we can bring the whole concept of animatics in live action, which Hollywood has adopted to a great extent, Europe has adopted, Bollywood to a great extent, in the real VFX sections they do very often. In Bengal, we have done quite a few times. I have done for my film, I can tell you, for the sections that we have done VFX, the pre-visualization. And I'm telling you, for the students, it does wonders. It just optimizes your resources in terms of time, in terms of every other resource, including manpower, for the budget that you have and for the output that you're going to take out. If your pre-visualization is strong, you will do much lesser mistakes on set. So I think both in their own ways are great, and what animation can learn from live action is in terms of how we visualize it actually on set. So my camera, my angles, my lighting, my entire actual maneuvering, that's where I would say the softwares in animation comes into place. So yes, if I am to say that, I'll just clarify one very small. When we talk about storytelling and creativity, we filmmakers tend to monopolize it for ourselves and a lot of other creative professionals, but I tend to disagree there. I personally believe that it has been a process of 5,000 years of storytelling that our ancestors have done, which we call history today. What we are going to create today is going to be history for tomorrow, the story that we are going to tell, and that is in every faculty. Every profession is telling their stories, not just the creative professional. They are creative in their own way. So yes, storytelling is what we are all about. But we have to also understand that there is a beautiful mix of technology and actual applied creativity. Both are equally creative. Both are telling stories in their own way. So as a student, my suggestion to you will be, some of you will be very keen to become a director, a writer, a cinematographer, an animator. And then there will be a lot of you who will actually want to be in the technological part of it, who would want to create the software, who would want to do the data of it, the analysis of it. trust me, it's equally creative for both. Both will need pre-visualization, both will need planning. And if you can concentrate on that, you will tell your unique story in whatever profession and faculty that you will be. Yeah, that's yeah.
Dhruva, I was listening to it as a story. You are a great articulator, and the question on platforms is something that I wanted to ask you. But I'll come back to you a little later. You mentioned about OTT,
Yeah.
AR, VR. I'll come back to you because, what story you tell on which platform and, whether that story is made for that platform or not. We'll come back to you with that question. But coming to Ashok sir, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes.
Ashok sir, when you actually had the first, opening remarks, you had very nicely mentioned, of course, the whole filmmaker comes out of you. In the whole speech, the way you articulated and expressed yourself was amazing. And, that's how I remember many of my teachers when you learn film and how, on all my directors on the floor, when they're explaining a scene, they actually do the scene and the scene comes alive. And when you told that story, I think you came just alive. It reminded so much about our studio floors and all. But, you made a very pertinent point, in the COVID times, most of the live action directors and with the complete SOP, which has come for shootings from the INB ministry, and it's not only true for India, it's true for many countries, that with the social distancing and a lot of other aspects post-COVID, many shoots are going to happen with actors themselves against the green screen. And the opportunity to animate or opportunity to build the sets and build the visual effects, although for the last 6 months, the visual effects industry didn't have too many scenes to do because the live action shoots were not happening. But I believe post November, December, they are going to be the most busy people because that's how the streets are going to come and they're going to really shoot. So I want to ask you as to how do you think for the future, how the students to look at this filmmaking, whether the use of combination, the blend of animation, visual effects, and whether the production design you suggest the students should the complete planning go on as you are reading the script as to how you want to blend it and how you want to plan it while shooting the film itself. That's why the output can be much better and the budgets can be much better controlled.
Yes, I feel that now the entire animation, design and VFX industry has come very close to the cinema industry. In fact, they're almost indivisible, Just like earlier on, we had this clear division between documentary and fiction. But nowadays, the documentary has come so close to fiction because we're doing a lot of docudrama. And in fiction, we are using a lot of documentary footage. If you look at some of the major films over the last few years, many of them use documentary footage, important events that have occurred in our lives. Similarly, I think now that we need to redesign the courses to some extent and send out the message that animation is not just drawing frames one by one. That is one aspect of it. That's the beautiful aspect. As you rightly pointed out, it was a beautiful moment when Mickey Mouse was created or Donald Duck was created. And that was the genius of Walt Disney and films like Fantasia, Donald in Magic Land. Who can forget those films? But that is now only one side of the story. The other side of the story is that even if you don't have that talent for drawing or painting, but if you have a clear conception and you have this passion and this desire to make films, you can come into this field because filmmakers are doing it. I mentioned Isle of Dogs by Wes Anderson, which in 2018 won the Golden Bear at Berlin, which means in a film festival where live action is the main, Berlin is perhaps one of the greatest film festivals of the world, an animated film has won the top prize.
Yes.
Which means that animation is now very much mainstream now and is being used by mainstream director. And as you rightly pointed out, Mr. Moderator, that now people are considering actors against screens, people are considering studio shooting, maintaining all the norms of social distancing, and, you know, when you're not shooting, to put on your masks, sanitization, all of that. We can really have safe shooting, good shooting. And in a way, it's very good that COVID sort of forced our hand. COVID made us change. But once we have changed, I think the world will never be the same again.
Yes. Thank you very much, Ashok sir. In fact, that experience really speaks. I'll go to Pradeep sir right now. Pradeep sir, while designing the new course, and we just barely kind of discussed a little bit of, blending of these shows, of these courses, in your institute, I seen you have a studio attached right next to the institute. And that is one of the biggest thing that one can think about, that the students and the studio is right next to each other across the street, and students can actually go and see what's happening in the studio. Many a times do their internship also in the same studio. But, how do you really see the blend of design and business, the blend of engineering and photography, engineering and event management, engineering and maybe animation, or maybe even BBA having a blend of animation with the multidisciplinary areas, and even some of the thoughts on, UV, UI kind of a process to be part of the curriculum as a design. So what do you think the design is going to play a role into the future curriculums that you have?
See, what I can see is that the education or the universities will take a shape of a business park. What will happen is that instead of students going and doing internship and doing projects which are, just fictional projects, they'll actually be doing real projects. They'll be solving real problems. They'll be doing real outputs, and the role of the teachers will change from people who are just imparting or giving lectures to supervise their work and make sure that the work is as per the client's satisfaction. The lectures are not required now. There's a better lecture exists online, and so most of the students would be asked to become self-learner and learn all the skills and the knowledge which is required to complete a project, which will be taken from the industry, and the mentors or the teachers will help them to complete those projects. Now, these projects may require interdisciplinary skills or interdisciplinary knowledge, and so according to the requirement of the project, they will acquire these knowledges because they are available. Because now the university assessment system is also evolving. They are saying, look, as long as you get this required number of credits from where you are getting, we are not bothered. You get that much, and we give you the degree of an undergraduate or a postgraduate. Now, so real, the system which the Germans are follow, dual system, where part of the training is done by hands-on, and you're going to factories or you're going to offices and learning, and part of the lecture is happening in the university. Now you don't have to come to the university to listen to lecture. You can listen. So what I was saying is that there'll be a paradigm shift, and this is a good news as far as India is concerned, because then the universities will have an additional source of revenue, and therefore we can actually reduce the fees. And my dream is that there'll be a time when instead of charging fees to the student, we'll start paying stipend to the students to join the universities. And if that happens, then it is a great news for India, because here the affordability is the major issue for most of the students, and who can't afford these higher education if they are very expensive. And if they can get paid instead of paying the fees, because they are actually performing and their work is very well received by the industry, and they have all the facility to complete. They have all kinds of studios and sound studio and shooting studios and lab and editing tables and whatever they require to finish the project. Everything is provided by the university. In that case, it will be a wonderful scenario. I mean, I'm very, very excited that this might just happen.
Yeah, in fact, with the new structural reform that has happened in the universities, where you complete the first year of 2 semesters, you are given a certificate.
Yeah.
And now once
you are actually given a diploma.
No, that is after
second year.
In the second year.
Second year.
No. First year, sir, 2 semesters you are given a certificate.
Okay.
The second year, 2 semesters, additional 2 semesters, you are given a diploma, and then there are 4 semesters to get a degree. But the good thing that you told and which matches is the students can actually go and finish a lot of hub and spoke model of creating jobs and earning money and coming back and studying, and they don't have to repeat any of the years, and they can actually shift their credits to other courses as well. And I think that's the part of the complete the national education policies, which is very interesting, especially for the media and entertainment industry and the design industry, where students can continue and explore. They can actually exit and enter at any point in time, and they don't have to repeat any of the years, and that's a very unique area. So my next question, if you're not speaking, kindly put your you kindly mute yourself so that there is no other noise. I'm coming to Dr. Dave. Dave sir, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Dave sir, in fact, a large number of students are very confused about technology and the skills, or people are confused even about education and skills. But with the new education policy, the complete area is merged. The skills and education is coming together, because the positioning of education was somewhere and the skills was positioned at a very different level. So right now, we realize in our industry in particular, skill is extremely important, because without skill, you cannot deliver on the projects. So how do you see, the blending of the skills and education to be combined, the blending of skills or creative skills or performing art skills with technology as part of the same curriculum is going to help? How do you think the web design, the UV, UI, careers, the other design careers, because design, as I said earlier, is not restricted only to media and entertainment or creative design. It's also actually adding a whole lot of perspective to various other industries, including automobile industry, textile industry, fashion. It has product design. You also have in many countries, even in India right now, you have policy design. And of course, we talk about sustainable design. So what do you think that students should know about the complete design vertical and the blending of skills and the education and skills and technology?
Yeah, Ashish. In 2015, World Bank came up with a report for a country called India. And it categorically said that 65% of our graduates are not employable by industry, whether it is animation industry, whether it is chemical industry, or whatever. And what the reason was? The lack of skill sets. Now let us move on to the World Economic Forum. They have got the skill sets available from 2020 to 2025 for Industry 4.0. And can you believe me? The skill set for 2020, and if you compare with 2022, there's heaven and hell difference. So the rate at which the skill is shifting, there's a big paradigm shift even between the years or among the years, if I were to say this, right? So in that case, the institution, the academic institution need to do the fusion of these skills along into their curriculum. Otherwise, I mean, again, in 2025, World Bank comes with a report. The percentage will be go just marginally here or there. Otherwise, 65% unemployability, whether they are students from IIT or they are from IIM or they are from NIT or they are from any other institution, regardless of the background, they are not employable because of the gap exists between what industry demands and what we are teaching, our product, that's what it is. So what we have done here at JS College of Engineering, since we went for digital transformation much before COVID, so we have integrated those skill set of World Economic Forum into our curriculum. And our evaluation patterns are also based, because we don't have tests or we don't have examination. For example, in JS College of Engineering, we do not have any internal test, because the students are continuously evaluated based on the skill sets that are recommended by the World Economic Forum. And those skill sets, they range from like say, complex problem solving, interpersonal skills, negotiation skill, leadership skills, communication skills, there are many more. So our students are subjected to rigorous exposure of the skill sets. And so we are really happy that, we are just not simply giving out the degree and leave it to the mercy of the world to go and find a job. No, that's not what we are doing. We are doing this, like we are making our graduates the future ready for Industry 4.0. So, I mean, it applies to all the domains, whether it is performing arts or whether it's engineering or it is management. The skill sets have to be there, have to be integrated within the curriculum, within the syllabus. And for that also, we need a whole breed of teachers. These existing faculty really won't do, believe me. Like, when we started with digital transformation, we use digital platforms. Like, we use digital platform called Blend Space. We use digital platforms called Canvas and many more. To create digital content, we had to use digital platform. And our learning management systems, LMS, were also digital. So for this, we had to do a lot of reshuffling. We had to train our teachers, it was not a one-day job that we got this endorsement from the World Bank that India's first digital transform in the institution.
David sir, in fact, our experience has been that, there was a kind of a diktat, or I would say there was a kind of, the ruling that from the Ministry of Education now, that if one has to teach the undergrad, you have to be a postgrad. And if you have to teach the postgrad, you have to be a PhD. Now, in the space of filmmaking, in the space of media and entertainment, there are hardly any courses. We hardly have undergrads. How do we get, the masters and the PhDs to teach? And my second question to you is, it's always seen that, the filmmakers themselves are institution, to define with. In fact, they, if you take Rajkumar Hirani or say Subhash Ghai or any of these guys, they are, institutions by themselves. And if we don't have this where live teaching is by the practitioners is happening, then, the students don't learn the right way. So how do we tackle this issue?
I tell you, we have got a very disappointing experience in this country called Film and Television Institute of India. I mean, look at that record, look at the data, compared to vis-a-vis the professional, which have not really learned the craft into organized sector. There's a big difference. So, I mean, I take it with a pinch of salt, the whole idea of, organized sector, producing, animators or filmmakers. I think that is something little bit, I mean, it is far-fetched dream. Second thing, for example, if I talk about my institution, we are using chroma screen, right? So once, I suppose I'm talking about climate change, and the end of it, I go back to my editing table. I put animations at the back of this because chroma screen is available, right? And so I enrich my digital content. So that way, all of our entire team is doing, even students are doing. So we are giving them, some training in the studios about film editing, how to make use of the chroma screen, how to do voiceover, and many more things, which, I'm sure, any of the institution in India, their staff or students won't be getting this kind of exposure.
No, I disagree with you there because I go to FTI. I've been on the academic council. We started an animation program. The largest amount of professionals in this country have come from there. Some of the best filmmakers have come from there. So I only think that there were very few institutions to start with, but it's not that they are a failure. They are a big success. NID is a big success. And even the design school at IIT Mumbai, ISD, is a big success. The thing is, the pattern that was there, and at one point in time, you also touched about the assessment patterns. If the assessment pattern is to give a 3-hour written exam at the end of the semester, the creative guys are going to fail. If you have an actor doing an exam, written exam, it cannot be assessed with a written exam. The thing is, you have to find a way of assessment which is different for different programs, which is different for different verticals. And I think autonomy. And from the autonomy, you can actually go to the next level, whereby you can define your assessment patterns and few others. But the existing institutions have done a fabulous job, and that's why India is at this position, because we deal with several studios, right? I myself have brought Disney, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, and Sony to India and delivered their shows for the last 20 years. So the students in India have proven that they can actually deliver world class. So it's not that that the students in India are not delivering; they're delivering a world class product.
See, all that I wanted to say was, I'm talking about traditional examination with respect to what we are doing in engineering. Like, I'm a student of IIT Kanpur, right? But still, I always felt that I was rewarded for my memory retention capabilities and not for my passion for learning. And I maintained that. And that's why the first thing when I started digital transformation, I threw the traditional examiner out of to the winds in JS College of Engineering. We don't have any examinations. We are checking continuous evaluation with a passion for learning and many other aspects, not about memory retention capabilities. We don't want that.
No, it's not that. It's about the performing arts has to be judged with performance.
Yeah, it is performance. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the sports person has to be
different evaluation. Parameters. It is a different evaluation.
I'm exactly talking about that, and even the teaching mechanism, the faculty and the exposure for the students to the live project is the only way how we can actually get the students to the speed. In fact, I'll come back to you on this a little bit more, but I want to go to Mr. Florian. You are actually from France. You are, if you can unmute yourself, sir. You're from France, and some of the best schools that we refer to, whether it's Rubica or any of these animation schools that we actually refer to, have done extremely well in France. And in terms of design, UK and France used to lead in the industry. But when it comes to applications, or when it comes to the industry of say AR VR, right now we are seeing that the AR VR, when a dipstick study was done in the year 2018 and 19, we realized that 85% of AR VR application and the products are not in the media and entertainment space. They are either in the pharma space or the healthcare space or in the manufacturing area or in some of the other design area. So how do you think students should look at making career, keeping this in mind?
Mhm. Well, I think there's a lot of new marketplaces that are springing up in the next few years as well, and in the recent future. Like Facebook is building a metaverse called Facebook Horizon. They will have a developer conference on September 16th, and they will showcase what their new social 3D worlds and virtual worlds would look like. So there's a lot of new marketplaces that are going to show up, and I think you have to decide early on where you want to get your skill set improved. On if you really want to challenge yourself, we should choose a hardware and a marketplace very early on and try to content there and see how difficult early on in the marketplace. I think that's a good way. And I think, of course, depending on whether you're a team of people or a studio or an individual will also be quite different on how you approach getting into the market. And how to, and there's really no substitute for hard work as well. So you know, they say an overnight success doesn't happen overnight. It's really, you have to put in a lot of hours and really start from a very low level to gain a very complex level of skills. And it depends on where your passion lies as well, like what technology you feel most interested in, and whether it is gaming or entertainment or architecture. These or the film industry, these require a very different set of skills in animation as well, I think. And some of the hardware that are out now have some limitations like shading and lighting. So you would need to reduce the amount of polygons or animation and design possibilities. So it requires a way to optimize for the hardware, for example. So that's also a different skill set that you need, depending on what hardware you choose and what area you want to go into. If you want to go into architecture, for example, they're building digital twins of cities even before they're built. Smart cities that are currently, there's actually a town in Germany that is using smart city and has built a digital twin to showcase.
It's called building information and modeling.
Yes,
it's called BIM.
And so I think for aspiring design and animation students, I think it's really there's no substitute for hard work, and you need to look at the projects and the marketplaces that you would like to work on.
Sure. Thank you very much. In fact, we'll go to Mr. Samir right now. He's been patiently waiting, listening to everyone. Samir, if you can unmute yourself. You know, my question to you is that you have been engaged into all these verticals for a long period of time. You have actually seen what the curriculums are in many countries, and how this ecosystem is actually getting developed. Having, you know, the largest amount of creative force that comes from Bengal, Orissa, and the Northeast region, you know, there has always been a gap in terms of how the platforms for education for them were not presented in a way that the career options have to be rightly presented. At the same time, the industry has to work towards getting the right studios into the region so that people can find job into the same vicinity. And if that happens, then the industry growth is much faster. Secondly, these verticals are not successful unless and until there is a industry academia interface. And how do you think that we are able to get industry academia interface in Bengal? How do you think that the students from this region can reach out to the institutions there to have the right blended creative and technical programs? And all said and done, we may talk about technology. We may get enamored by the whole technology, but unless and until you have that creative instinct, you have that capability of doing certain hand-mind connect and create that illusion, things are not going to work. So what I mean to say is, you cannot become a painter by learning Photoshop, but you have to be a painter to use Photoshop effectively. That's the difference. So how do you think you're going to tackle this, and how the students from there are going to make use of this? And my third question you have to answer is, what is done to get the industry academia interface?
Okay. Thank you, moderator, sir. It's a long series of questions, but another very interesting thing is that if you are the last speaker, you will not have anything to answer. Probably all the answers is...
No, all the questions I asked you are not answered, so you have to answer.
Okay, no. Okay, fine. I'll give. Now the last question, I'm answering first. Okay. The quality and the other part of it, like I'm telling you one very interesting things in design. I think, I personally, maybe all of you may be thinking in a different way. I personally think in design, there is two aspects, good design and a bad design. Unfortunately, in our country, we are not bothered about the bad design. Intentionally, and be it in the design, already some of the speakers told that design is everywhere. Design is in automobile, design is in the software, in IoT, in cinema, everywhere. So this design is, if it is wrong, then your product is wrong. So in the curriculum, now I'm coming to your second question. In the curriculum, there should be a very stringent rule that to learn, if you learn a software, I'm just giving you absolutely another example, then it will be easier for all of the speakers and even the students to learn that thing. Like if it is a software, if that guy, software guy said, no, this is a bad design, I will not do. That design is what? That whenever you call a phone, it will disconnect. So if you want to make a kind of a 3 minutes call, you have to call 30 times. So if in a day, if you call maybe 20 times, so you have to call 600 times. So that mobile company will get 600 times into one call money. The designer of that software can say that, sir, this is a wrong design. This is a bad design. My institute never taught me these things, that wrong design. I'm just telling you, we got 1.34 billion people. Just 30% of it, 30% of our total population, if they spend 10 minutes in a bad design, India will spend 1.8 billion man-hour. Can we believe all this? Can we calculate all this? Every day, means what sustainability? Now the question is that we have to concentrate in this. What is design and what is good design and bad design? Now question come, the first one, that two things, the industry academia. Unfortunately, there is a huge gap. And unfortunately, no infrastructure maker or no bridge maker are there in this part, at least. I should not say India, that they can gap that, they can bridge that gap between the industry and academia. Okay. Always industry people are thinking that they do not know anything. It is just waste of time. And the academia people, I'm not telling the student, the faculties are thinking this is the curriculum, and that is designed by some big people, and we have to teach this. We have to change this. This is the major important point at this moment. We have to change. We have to change the entire part. There should be a kind of a metamorphosis that that we have to consider a student as a student, not a product. A student is paying us as they are our product. So my intention in this entire thing, two particular part which is not touched by other people, that one, be very, very cautious about the design part of it. And second thing, industry academia should sit together. All institutes should invite industry people, ask them what you need. I seriously appreciate our Chopraji's concept. Student can go any day to the production unit, they can understand that thing. Okay, so unfortunately it is not there. We are still just putting around the circle and ask, this is armature, or this is the steering, and if you run this, then your car will go on the right side or left side. It is just not done. We need industry academia relationship. Very clear, very solid. Thank you.
Yeah, so industry academia interface in our particular space is deeply needed, but we also have the Media and Entertainment Skill Council, which is actually helping big way getting the industry academia together, and also getting a large number of recognition for place. And as Chopraji said, and even Ashok sir said, there was a time 100 years ago when the film industry was in Bengal and in Mumbai. Subsequently, it was in Trivandrum and Chennai as well. And then came Hyderabad and Bangalore. And now we have, because of the news media, electronic news media, the thing has developed in NCR region. We have Bhojpuri films. We have, the Chhattisgarhi films. We have Oriya films. We have films from Northeast. We have films from Gujarat, Rajasthan, and a lot of Bengali films. So India has truly actually come up as various clusters, and each of these language films or language television content has its own economy and has its own ecosystem and the following and the audience. And I think that's the very unique positioning of India. And India has, like the multiple states and the multiple, clothing, multiple languages, full diversity. Even in creation of content, it's got a great amount of diversity. The thing is that with the COVID times, many of the artists who used to work in Bangalore, in Pune, in Hyderabad, in Chennai, and in Mumbai, and in Calcutta, and in Delhi have come back to the West Bengal region. And they're all delivering from their homes, Dhruva Banerjee himself, for almost 21 years have worked in Mumbai. I've been known him because I was also in advertising. We worked together on several shows. Today he is back in Kolkata making films after almost 2 decades. The opportunity has to be grabbed by the institutions within that region, because if you ask MESC and if you ask us, we can give you 200, 300 names who have gone back to West Bengal in the last 2 years. And if you can integrate and form a group and make sure that they come and teach with you, that can be a fabulous teaching ground. And I think with the great opportunity, the creativity is given in the West Bengal as a state. The largest amount of musicians come from there. The best singers come from there. The best solo storytellers have come from there. The best artists have come from there. The best painters have come from there. Now the thing is, it's just a transition for them through education to be made ready for the delivery to the industry. And if you keep telling them that technology is everything, then it's not going to work. You have to bring and blend the skills and the technology together, and also blend education in such a way that they feel empowered by actually creating the Krishna Nagar as a town. And I go to Krishna Nagar very often. I have picked up a lot of artists from there who made those miniature idols. Such a wonderful piece of art that they create. Today, animation industry or even the the VR industry needs to really see how that can be integrated. The shortcomings that we have in the VR is because you require ownership of hardware to experience something, and also to create the content. The content is not being able to surpass a longer duration because the technology right now doesn't allow you. But having said that, I think a greater opportunity along with Anandabazar Patrika is to create a display of some of these unique experiences that can be created in education, and create a prototype and samples and exhibit them there so that the students can actually come. And I think Anandabazar Patrika Education Series is one of the mind-blowing series that we have. And I actually attended one of the sessions, which was just truly amazing. And it was everything to do with web. At the same time, I am happy that today students must have got a lot of insights into what it is. And many students are asking, if I want to make a career in animation, where shall I go? There is Webble, there is, several institutions, even Samir Das institution is teaching animation. Dave Sir's institution is teaching animation. Pradeep Sir's institution is teaching animation. The need is that how can we still collaborate? And if you have a great teacher, how we can make sure that the teacher is also shared as a resource so that the best comes out. And I think that's where, we can use the technology and share, because COVID has already taught us, from the virtual platform, you can still continue. But as, Ujjwal sir said, we are going to continue to require to go with phygital, that is physical and digital. And I think we will have to blend everything up. As our time is running out, I would quickly give one last quick, closing remark, which should be at least just one sentence or maybe 3 points. What do you think, how students should look at the opportunity of design, animation, visual effects, and gaming in the coming future? We will start with you, Florian, because, your country has done it the best. Let's see how you think it can add value to the careers of students in India.
I think it's a great opportunity because of also things like COVID. There's a lot of digital events now happening, like Venice VR, for example, where you can digitally supply your work, and it's much easier than having to go there, than submitting it online. And so there's a great opportunity to submit your work to a global event space, and the film industry or the VR industry. And VR Days in October in Amsterdam is also happening online. There's a lot of places where you can submit your work.
Oh, thanks so much. In fact, we would pass it on to our students in India. Dave sir, what's your closing remark on this?
Thank you, Ashish. I think now the time has come for both the parents and the students to think out of the box, in the sense that, it is not the traditional courses they should look at it. They should also think of, animation as a career, for example, and other paraphernalia with it, like VR and AR and many more things. Because the thing is, it is not that, what used to be the case a couple of decades back is not the case. We are almost at the threshold of a huge market for animation. This career is going to will be booming. So I think it's the right time and right point in time that the parents and students do think about the alternate careers rather than the traditional careers.
Oh, thanks so much. In fact, that's a very well thought. In fact, for the last 25 years that we are come in this industry, we have been going to small towns, trying to talk to artists and parents to allow their kids to make a career with us. And I think it's something that people should really look at. It's not only about engineering and medical, but creative careers are very nice, and they're actually more satisfying than in many other careers. Thank you very much, Dave sir.
Yeah, one point I wish to add that, I mean, it's a bit of a shame that, we don't have many institutions here in this country which would promote this cause, that would promote this objective. I mean, be a driving force, that is not happening.
So we have actually pushed the animation agenda in, more than 45 universities in India. But we are also pushing the design agenda, and we hope that more than 40-50 universities have a design curriculum. We have done that very successfully in Pune and Bangalore, but we would like to definitely help any of the institutions who want to set up in West Bengal, which can be very useful, and we will always be there to help you. Pradeep sir, what's your closing remarks, sir?
Yeah, I would suggest the students to go to all the institutes, check their physical infrastructure and the facilities they have, talk to the senior students, see how their experience of learning was there and what kind of projects were offered. It's your life, and therefore you must do proper investigation before you commit yourself to any institutes. I would only say that as what you said about design, let me tell you a very interesting thing which has happened in our college is that our students of interior designs have designed a museum for 1971 war, which is going to have 50th anniversary next year. And
Wow.
This will be built in the Eastern Command. They have already allotted land. And the design prepared by the students has been accepted by the highest authority in Defense Ministry. So that's an example of what students can deliver if they are given the right motivation and right guidance. They can achieve impossible.
Hearty congratulations. We would definitely like to come and see.
Yeah, you must come and see. I can also send you its walkthrough if you want. And like it was initially, they had a lot of apprehensions and they didn't like because the whole concept is very novel. We are using old shipping containers to make the museum. So, everybody was having apprehensions, but ultimately it got accepted by the highest authority in Defense Ministry.
That's true. My one more suggestion to Pradeep sir is that please create one 10-15 minutes VR experience of 1971 war. I am doing a series with General Bakshi on war heroes of India, and Dhruva was also a part of that series.
See, we had made a 1971 war documentary film using only the archival footage, not using any recreation. Only 5% of that is recreation. The rest of the film is only made with archival footage, including the shots taken by the telescopic camera of the Indian Air Force aircrafts.
Amazing.
So you can see it. I can send you the link.
Absolutely, we would love to see that, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
How about Ashok sir? What are your closing comments, sir? You are muted, sir. If you can unmute.
Yeah, can I hear the question again, please?
No, I want your closing comments for the students.
I would say that first of all, as you rightly pointed out, first of all, let me congratulate you for brilliantly coordinating, anchoring and moderating this program. Particularly your questions were very pertinent and very cogent, and you fleshed out the questions. That's what's important. It's not important always to just give bullet questions, but also explain the questions. So thank you for that. Thanks to ABP ABP for organizing this kind of an event, and more such should follow. And as I say, the most important subject, the subject of design, VFX and animation is so important that thanks to them. So I'll just end with another story, a small story which might be amusing again. And this is about theory and practice often we have many theories, but it's difficult to put them into practice, or when we put them into practice, they sometimes become ridiculous. This is the story of a medical practitioner. As you know, nowadays the VR is used very much in medicine because we are not working with cadavers anymore as we used to do in the medical colleges. You have digital cadavers created. Now, this particular doctor was a pediatrician, and his name was Dr. Benjamin Spock, a very famous apocryphal doctor. He had some very serious opinions about bringing up children. And one is that no corporal punishment. That is, you must never beat up the children at any point of time, which is fine. But one day, he had to make certain construction changes to his house. And I think Mr. Chopra will appreciate, being a real estate person, that there are certain materials that you need to make during construction. And one of them was cement. So he piled up a whole, a kind of mound of cement in front of his house. But the street urchins, they messed up the cement. So he was a little annoyed. He told them, children, don't do this. The cement is very important. I'm going to make certain structural changes in my house. But the children, they didn't listen. They messed up the cement again. Now, Dr. Spock was beginning to lose it. He said, children, telling you for the last time, do not mess up the cement. But the children didn't listen. They messed up the cement yet again. Now, Dr. Spock completely lost it, He started picking up the children and beating them up. So amidst the howls of pain, a neighbor was passing who recognized Dr. Spock. And she says, but Dr. Spock, you are beating up the children. I thought you didn't believe in corporal punishment. And Dr. Spock said, my ideas hold in the abstract, but not in the concrete. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was so nice. Samirda, what's your closing comment?
Closing comment, learn the futuristic technology. Very honestly, you have to learn it. And the second part is you have to be creative. The student, if they are not creative, you cannot force them to be creative. And actually, content is not the king at this moment. The story is the king. And the day will come when we will see that story is everything. So if students are putting a little bit of their mind in the storytelling, I think that it will be another world for them. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dhruva, we started with you. We are coming back to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
I have, now that there is a rare opportunity of having so many academia stalwarts in a panel like this, where we can address them together. I have a point for them and I have a point for the students. And then at the end, I have a question for you. So the first point to the eminent academicians here, between sir and me and a lot of other professionals, I think for a very long time we have very seriously tried to address the industry academia the gap, and we have very, very ardently walked towards that for a very long time. So I understand how important it is, and I understand that even now, even more, when among my assistants that I have employed, I have three: one who is a first year student, one who is a final year student, and one who has just passed out last year. Because I believe they come with least baggage. So I love to employ my workforce from the youngest lot. It will be very important for all of you to know that all three of them are from somewhere or other media studies. After having worked with me for within a year to 6 months, when I asked them about their courses and what they're learning, they say, sir, there is a dismal disparity. I repeat, there is a dismal disparity of what we get to do with you on set or on actual hands-on job vis-a-vis what we are getting taught in our academies. We don't feel like going back because it is outdated. Comes to a very pertinent point. The way the world is changing, the way media is evolving, the way we are rushing for the future and tomorrow, I think we will be very, very soon obsolete with our courses if we don't really look into them. We have to have proper industry initiative into the courses. So something that, how much we did and to what extent. It is so much needed, so much needed. Trust me, the way academies are seeing media and teaching and the way media is operating as in itself as media practical, there's a huge gap. There is a huge gap. It is real. It is time to address it. It's my request to all of you, because tomorrow we will be recruiting from all of your academies. And if that gap is still so much, on-job training becomes cumbersome for all of us. It is extremely, extremely cost effective. It is not cost effective, rather. It is rather extremely cost intensive. So it is an honest request. That is one. Number two, now to the students. No, it is not in your favor. I'm not talking in your favor. This is completely a different subject. So don't get carried away. What is getting taught? Millions of students are teaching that. Millions of students are getting taught in that way, and they're doing phenomenal career out of that as well. So take whatever courses are getting offered seriously, because trust me, those courses are just elementary. They just teach you the ifs and buts and the do's and don'ts. Life and your career is waiting to give you the opportunity to express your unique expression using what you just learned. That is not the be-all and end-all. That is just the starting point. Wait for the opportunity that life will give you, because life wants to tell you your own story using the tools that you just learned. So please be careful in what you learn, be attentive in what you learn, be compassionate in what you learn. Because when you come into the actual field, there is barely any time for corrections. And so the last point is to you, and the last question is to you. I want you to end the session with my favorite story of yours. Why I will not go to a student doctor to get my favorite one operated.
I will tell you a few things, because it's, well said by Samirda. It's all about storytelling, well articulated by all the speakers. Because we are not joining the business of animation, visual effects, gaming, or AR, VR. We are joining the business of storytelling. And if you understand that you are a business of storytelling, a lot of things suddenly become relevant to you. And as it becomes relevant to you, you would start, knowing that how important is to tell the story of your life, and how important is to tell and create stories within your life as your lifespan comes to an end, that those stories are remembered much beyond your existence. And I think that's the powerful storytelling all about. So once, many people said that, how do we really see the shortcuts? And many people say that I'll do a 3 months course or a 6 months course, and I'll start coming into the industry. People were always looking for shortcuts. And my complete story to them was that, if somebody comes with 6 months of an architecture program and says that I'll design your 50 lakh or 1 crore house, will you give it to them? You will never give it to them. You will say that, oh, go and do proper architecture, do 500 houses and then come to me. The same way, one of your best friend or your younger brother actually goes to medical practice, and you are actually in animation practice, for example. If your brother goes to MBBS, does 4.5 years of MBBS, does 2 years of internship, and 6.5 years passed, then he does 2 years of heart specialization, open heart surgery. he has to again go for 2 years of internship. So somewhere close to 11 years has already been spent. And if your brother comes and tells you, I'll operate on your heart, will you allow them? You will never allow them to touch your heart. Even then, after 11 and a half years, you will say, go and work with an experienced doctor, do some 1,000 operations, and then I'll allow you on to touch my heart. The same way, you know, animation shows are very expensive. The creations that we do in animation, visual effects, are not so simple and not so, not so cheap to create. It's very expensive to create. It's more expensive than live action. And that's why if you do a shortcut or a short program and go to your director, they will never allow you, because they need to safeguard their shows, because animation, even if you do a 26 episode series, it costs you 12 crores, 15 crores. If you do a feature film, it may cost you 40, 50 crores. If you do a Disney kind of feature film, it costs you 600 crores, 700 crores. So how do you expect people to actually give you this? So it comes to a very interesting end, and we have overshot the time. But this is one of my favorite stories, so I'm going to tell you before I end. Once upon a time, there was this farmer who had 35 acres of land, and this farmer had a 7-year-old son, and this son used to go with his father from the age of 7, as there were a lot of hens in the farm. Father used to go with a basket collecting eggs at 10 o'clock in the morning and come back by 11 o'clock with a whole round, and used to keep those eggs for hatching. This son started moving with his father, doing that every day for all 365 days a year. And over the period of 3 years, he mastered the art. At the age of 10, his birthday came and he asked for a birthday present to his father. And father thought that he would ask something very expensive. And he said that the eggs collection that you do and hatching of eggs, if I can take care of that job, I will be very happy as a bird to get this birthday present. So father happily gave that birthday present to him. As that birthday present was given, this boy was collecting these eggs every day. 6-7 months later, one day, this boy found a big gray color egg along with all the chicken eggs. And he came running to his father saying, Father, see, I got this egg, which is unusual in color and not the same, and it is bigger in shape. So father said that, son, you asked for this, so you need to take care of it. You find out what it is. So he gets dejected, but he goes and keeps this egg along with all the other eggs. And all the other eggs hatch, but this egg is still not hatching. So he gets completely disappointed. He again goes to his father. The father said, son, you asked for it, so you better figure it out. One fine day, this egg hatched, and a big gray color, a different looking bird came out. He ran with this bird to his father and said, Father, I told you this something different. It doesn't look like a chicken. It looks something very different. His father said, son, you asked for this. You go and better figure out. So he kept thinking, took this bird because he had his life within his farm. He couldn't ask anybody else. He left this bird playing with other chickens. And a few days later, this chickens and these birds were growing up. One fine day, they saw an eagle flying high in the sky. And all the chickens and this bird wanted to fly that high. So they tried their flight, and they could do 1 feet, 1.5 feet, 2 feet. Some chicken ran to their mothers and said, Mom, we want to fly that high. The mothers told them, no, that's an eagle, but you are a chicken. You can't fly that high. You can just do a small jump here and there. But actually this bird, which was born along with chickens, was actually an eagle. And who knows, it was born like a chicken. It probably lived like a chicken, and it might have even died like a chicken. So my only thing, a message to all the students and their parents and their teachers is that no sooner you identify that creative and a performing arts eagle in you, that design eagle in you, you are destined to fly that high. Don't restrict yourself. Don't be a chicken. Just find out your ways and make a best career and join the storytelling industry. And you would do the greatest thing in animation greatest thing in visual effects, greatest thing in AR, VR, and the greatest thing in the design, because this is something which changes the lives of people and generations after generations. Whatever content you have created in animation, people will come and continue to see, because animation lives for hundreds of years, 200s of years, and many, many more. So wishing you guys all the best. A big thank you to all the panelists, Samirda, Mr. Florian, Mr. Dave, Dr. Dave, Dhruva Banerjee, Pradeep Da, and Ashok sir. Amazing. I would love to come and meet you someday when I come to Calcutta. And a big, big thank you to the whole team at ABP Education. This is an amazing initiative. And this initiative is going to actually shape up the future of not only the students, but also the educational institutions in that region. And also the industry is going to come there, because the skills are going to be there. And I think that's the complete life cycle. And I wish all of you a great week ahead. And a big thank you to ABP Education to put this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.